Welcome to the channels. Subscribe and support us as we bring you epic sci-fi and HFY stories every week. The transmission crackled across 1,000 worlds, carrying humanity's voice into the void. Commander Sarah Chen's face filled alien view screens, her eyes hollow with exhaustion, her words measured and desperate. "We tried peace," she said, her voice breaking just slightly. "For 3 years, we've extended every olive branch, offered every concession. We've shared our art, our science, our very souls with you. And you've answered with contempt." Behind her, Earth hung in the viewport, blue, fragile, alone. The Galactic Council chambers erupted in laughter. Lord Kezeth, his chitinous mandibles clicking with amusement, waved a dismissive appendage. The mammals plead again. How ... tedious. Around the curved table, representatives from 100 species joined the mockery, their varied forms unified in derision. Humanity had been judged primitive, their weapons crude, their ships barely spaceworthy. One species had conquered their corner of the galaxy with less. In Geneva, the transmission ended to silence. General Marcus Webb stared at the dead screen, his weathered hands flat on the war table. Around him, Earth's remaining leaders waited, their faces carved from stone. 3 billion dead already. Orbital strikes had turned cities to glass. The aliens had made their position clear. "Madam President," Webb finally said, turning to the woman whose hair had gone white in 6 months. "They've given us their answer." President Okonkwo closed her eyes. Somewhere above, in the refugee shelters carved into mountains, children pressed against their parents, listening to static-filled radios repeat the failed plea. Families who'd lost everything waited for a response that would never come. Peace was dead. She opened her eyes, and they were iron. "Then we show them the other side." Across the galaxy, alien fleets assembled with casual efficiency. The human resistance would be crushed within weeks. Footnote: in the Great Expansion, Admiral Vexter preened his scales, already composing the victory report. Humanity had shown their hand. Outdated missiles, chemical propulsion, electromagnetic weapons that wouldn't scratch modern shielding. It would be a massacre. He never saw the factory complexes buried in Earth's mantle ignite like newborn stars. He didn't know about the quantum foundries that had been building in secret since first contact, or the AI cores humanity had kept deliberately dormant, waiting. The message played again, but different now, stripped of its pleading tone. Chun's voice was steady, cold. "Now you'll meet the other side of humanity." The first alien scout fleet died at the asteroid belt. They'd expected interceptors, perhaps a desperate missile barrage. Instead, the asteroids themselves moved, revealing magnetic accelerators that turned space rocks into relativistic projectiles. The alien ships, sophisticated and powerful, had shields designed for energy weapons. They had nothing for billion-ton masses, moving at a fraction of light speed. Debris scattered across Mars' orbit within minutes. In the council chambers, the laughter died. How Kezoth's voice cracked. "They're primitives." But the reports kept coming. A human fleet where, had they gotten a fleet, had emerged from Jupiter's shadow, ships bristling with weapons that shouldn't exist. Plasma hybrids married to railgun technology, nuclear-pumped lasers, kinetic kill vehicles guided by AI that predicted enemy movements before they happened. And the tactics: no species fought like this. Humans used moons as shields, turned supply lines into traps, sacrificed single ships to destroy entire formations. They fought with the accumulated savagery of 1,000 wars, refined over millennia of killing each other. Marine Lieutenant James Park sealed his helmet, his squad around him in the drop bay. Through the hull, he could hear the battle, the thunder of Earth's fury made manifest. "For everyone we lost," he whispered, and his squad echoed it like a prayer. Their transport shuddered, breaching an alien dreadnought's hull. Inside, they found corridors designed for beings who'd never known true war. The aliens fought with honor, with rules, with the civilized restraint of species who'd forgotten what desperation meant. Humans had no such handicap. They cleared the ship deck by deck, room by room, using tactics that made alien commanders weep. By the time Park's boots hit the bridge, the dreadnought's captain was already fleeing. At Mars, Earth's ragtag defense fleet faced impossible odds 3-1, with the aliens holding every technological advantage. They won anyway. Engineers had worked 30-hour shifts, welding hull plates, jury-rigging weapons systems, turning civilian haulers into warships through sheer desperation and ingenuity. Farmers calculated firing solutions. Miners piloted attack craft. Scientists who'd spent their lives studying distant stars now plotted kill trajectories. When the alien armada sent to finish it arrived at Jupiter, they found a graveyard. Human ships had turned the Galilean moons into weapons platforms, seeded the orbital space with mines that looked like debris, prepared ambushes in 3 dimensions. The ensuing slaughter was clinical. Alien fleet commanders, trained in academies that taught warfare as an art form, found themselves outmaneuvered by humans who treated it as survival. The council convened an emergency session, their chamber no longer filled with mirth. Ancient species, who'd seen the rise and fall of civilizations, felt something they'd almost forgotten: fear. They hid this, an elder Vryn whispered, her crystalline form refracting terror. All this time, they showed us their weakest face. They tried to be like us. Another replied, civilized, peaceful. We should have wondered why they had to try. General Webb stood before Earth's combined forces, his image broadcast to every ship, every soldier, every human who still drew breath. They wanted monsters, he said simply. They wanted us to beg, to break, to die quietly. Instead, they're learning what humanity becomes when survival is the only option. Behind him, factories churned out ships faster than the aliens could count them. Eyes that had spent decades idle now orchestrated campaigns across a dozen systems simultaneously. Every human, from children sorting components to elders coding navigation systems, contributed to the war machine that peace had kept dormant. Pilot Sarah Rodriguez screamed her daughter's name as she rammed her fighter into an alien carrier's reactor core. The explosion took out 3 escort frigates and crippled 2 more. Her sacrifice saved 8,000 human lives. The aliens would later study this battle, trying to understand why someone would do such a thing. They never would. At the Neptune exclusion zone, human commandos boarded an alien listening post and broadcast a new message. Chin's voice again, but stripped of all emotion now. Peace was our first choice. It always was. We offered you our hand, our hearts, our hope for a shared future. A pause, heavy with implications. You chose this. Remember that when your worlds burn. The offensive began at coordinates the aliens thought secure: supply depots, shipyards, command centers. Human fleets emerged from quantum jumps that shouldn't have been possible, struck with precision that defied probability, and vanished before reinforcements arrived. They fought like ghosts, like demons, like a species that had perfected warfare through self-annihilation, and somehow survived to refine the lessons. Alien empires, stable for millennia, watched their borders collapse. Systems that had never known conflict burned. The Council sent their best fleets, their most decorated commanders, their most advanced weapons. Humans destroyed them all. When the Kazathi hegemony sued for peace, offering reparations and territory, Earth's response was broadcast galaxy-wide. We tried that. The final battle happened over Kazath Prime itself, the alien capital world whose people had never seen war on their soil. Earth's fleet, battered and rebuilt a dozen times, faced the assembled might of the Galactic Defense Force in the system's outer reaches. The odds were 10-1 against humanity had faced worse. The superweapon humanity unveiled wasn't a gun or a bomb, it was information. AI-crafted viruses that turned alien ships against each other, exploiting security flaws in systems that had never needed to be secure. Quantum jammers that made FTL travel impossible, trapping reinforcements, and the ships themselves, revealing their final modification, each one a potential relativistic missile, piloted by humans who'd already made their peace. The alien armada broke within hours. Ships fled, surrendered, or died. On Kazath Prime, citizens watched their invincible fleets scatter like leaves before a storm, and they understood what their leaders had awakened. The council chamber, once filled with the galaxy's mighty, now held only broken beings. They'd overthrown their own leaders, these representatives of younger generations who'd grown up hearing about the human problem. Now they broadcast their own message, pleading, "Stop this. Please, we'll negotiate anything." Earth's response was Commander Chen again. But she was older now, harder. "We tried negotiations. We tried peace. We tried being civilized, and you called us weak." Behind her, Earth still hung in space card, smoking, but unbroken. "We are humanity," she said softly. "We are peace when peace is possible. We are compromise, cooperation, and hope. We extended our hand in friendship, because that's who we want to be." Her eyes hardened to diamond. "But we are also survivors. We crawled up from mud and blood, fought ourselves to the edge of extinction 100 times, and somehow found reasons to keep going. We learned to kill with rocks, with bronze, with steel, with atoms themselves. We learned because we had to, Because our world was never kind. Because peace was something we had to create from violence. The transmission panned across Earth's orbital defense grid, where satellites bristled with weapons designed to kill gods. You forced us to remember what we spent millennia trying to forget. You made us become what we'd left behind. She leaned forward, and every being in the galaxy leaned back. We will accept your surrender. We will establish peace. We will rebuild. A pause, infinite and terrible. But know this, and remember it forever. We tried to be your friends. You made us your nightmare. And if you ever force our hand again. ... Double quotes. The transmission ended, but the silence spoke volumes. AC. Ross, the galaxy, species who'd ruled for eons, looked at their neighbors differently now. Humanity hadn't just won a war, they'd rewritten the rules of galactic civilization. Peace was no longer assumed. It was earned, through respect, through caution, through the understanding that some species had learned to be gentle, precisely because they knew how to be terrible. On Earth, in shelters, and cities, and orbital stations, humans turned off their radios and picked up the pieces. They'd won, but at a cost. They'd spent generations processing. They'd shown the galaxy their darkest face, and they couldn't take it back. President Okonkwo, older and grayer, stood at her window, looking at stars that seemed less friendly now. We tried peace, she whispered to the void. And somewhere in the ruins of the Kezathi hegemony, an alien child would grow up hearing about humanity not as weaklings or primitives, but as the species that had offered friendship and, when rejected, had reminded the galaxy what it meant to survive.